welcome everyone. I'm Kelly. I'm a physical therapist here, and we were really excited about this low back pain and inflammation series that we've done with some of our local doctors in town and physical therapists, and then another DO here. So if you don't know, this is Dr. Rollet. He's a graduate of Palmer School of Chiropractic. He's been in town here about 23 years. So today he's going to talk to you about kind of the perspectives on back pain and inflammation more specifically. Okay, enjoy.
Thank you, Dare. Hello. I know most of you, but for those that haven't been in my office, this is how I start out every new patient visit. And they look at me kind of weird, and I go, if this is your vertebra, just about always where you're misaligned, these will be bent. How do you bend a vertebra? Even the whole square will be bent. The pelvis will be bent. We'll draw these lines on things and say, well, you threw this one back and this one forward. Now we say, yes, if you got run over by a tractor, that happened, okay? We don't slip and fall out of place just 'cause. We're made out of little rag dolls. So structural measures of inflammation. Chiropractors love to say, you just magically threw that bone out of place. That doesn't work like that. We're tougher than that. So when the secret is, you look at that vertebra, look at how it's bent, okay? Same thing that I'm doing this here, bent. Next slide, bent, bent, okay. And how do we get bent bones? We grow up in height with them, okay. Little kids, watch little kids jump off of things and kill themselves. That's where you get misaligned, okay. Babies getting pulled out. I remember sitting in chiropractic school and saying, how stupid is that to adjust a baby? No, that's the key, okay? All the Amish bring me their newborns. It's really fun, too, because you can actually move bones with them. And you're not reefing on them. You're gently moving things. Many, many times a baby come in, head stuck completely over here, and you just slowly work on that, and it'll just go just like butter. The kid's head will be perfectly straight. I saved him a lifetime of misery. So that's the whole key with misalignments, is to get sold into the deal of, we're going to have you walk in like this. When we take this x-ray, you're going to look crooked. When the person walks in like this, we take an x-ray, they're going to look crooked. I free them all up. Next x-ray, which I don't hardly ever do x-rays, you look straight. So if somebody ever tries to sell you into, we're going to take this bone and we're going to move it over here, not really. In babies, you can, us, not so much. But we look at leg length. And a lot of doctors miss this, okay? They look good, but when you bend the legs up, they look like that. So you have one tibia shorter than the other. Make a lot of sense to take a film down here after their spasm is done, okay? Because we know we're going to see something not correct, okay, if they're spasm. So I free them up, get them all going, and then we take the x-ray of them. And if those hip sockets, if that one is lower, where that lower tibia is, we have to cut off some of the other leg, right? Or put a heel lift in this side and straighten them up. Especially when they're really young, like just about hitting that growth spurt age, that's where you really want to look at that. And you can do this at home as long as the person's head is straight. I tell them, hang your chin over the edge of a bed. Take your children's feet and do this with them and see if that happens. And if it does, come in and we'll take an x-ray of it for free. So, here's a kid. He grew up. You see that bone right there? Look at how bent it is. And he's 19 millimeters off here. Super short tibia on that side. So we had to cut off 19 millimeters of his right foot. And he was fine. But we don't want to go up all the way to 19 millimeters. That's like taking that little tree and trying to bend it back too fast, too much. So we're going to go on a series of, I started him out with like 4. In a month we'll go up maybe another 2. Another month maybe another 2. Because you can throw a monkey wrench into something real quick by putting a big lift in something. So, classic, classic, classic. Because the exercise doing you more harm than good. When I watch everybody walking around the track here, and they're walking like this, no, we need to take a film down here to see if you're beating yourself up faster than you are repairing yourself. So, discs. Discs need motion. So all the walking around the track out here is great, okay? This is what hydrates discs. We have a disc treatment machine at the office. And you can see before and after pictures down here. And so look at the disc. It's 90% water in the center here. you see all these crisscrosses right here? A disc, it looks like a Chinese finger torture thing. You put your fingers in, you can't get them apart, okay? So motion is what pumps water to the center. When you have things that are misaligned and grown like that, this pump is not efficient, and it starts to do this over time. When it starts to lose height, this over here needs to grow calcium over there to support it. So when they point at you and say you have arthritis or you have bone spurs and all that stuff, good, you're supposed to have them, okay? And they don't hurt. There's hardly any pain fibers out in those spurs. And by the time they're 90, you'll see them fused together like that. And I go, good, it's holding you up, okay? So, same thing, before and after. I've seen some scary discs before, thousands probably. I've seen over 30,000 different patients in my little office here, so I've seen a few folks where discs were so scattered that I just, no, go have surgery. And they didn't have insurance or they wouldn't do it, and worked on them, and it got better. And so a year later, their medical doctor will usually go, let's take another MRI of that. And they do, and it's gone. Where'd it go? Your immune system came in and ate it, okay? Your immune system has enough there. Inflammation is to bring hormones, immune system, oxygen, and nutrients there to fix it, okay? Pain, yes, it's not great feeling, but it's there for a reason. So this is one of our first gadgets. We have a far infrared heat mat. A lot of negative ions come out of this. You'll get the whole negative show here in a minute, where negative cleans up a positive toxin, okay? Far infrared heat will go into this far, about 15 centimeters. Dry heat goes in 4 millimeters. Wet heat goes in 24 millimeters. So that's why you want to, at home, use wet heat. Plastic bag, something in it, or a gel pack, and then use that on your pain. The thermomassager. This is an aqua massager. Once I get bones to move, I like putting patients on something that keeps their bones moving for a while. And it feels great. It's like being in a hot tub with your clothes on. For elderly or osteoporotic people, the gun works really good. It's just literally like a little jackhammer that gets things going. Inflammatory foods. Okay. I was told, by the way, I was giving a sermon on inflammation, not low back pain. But I kind of explained a little bit about how the joints work and that kind of thing. But the big one is inflammatory foods. Here is Dr. Stephen Gundry's book, The Plant Paradox. Awesome book. Definitely read it. It's a lot more involved than his things on YouTube. But basically, this guy was a heart surgeon. And here he is there. He's a heart surgeon, and he figured out why these people would plug up their hearts and why these people wouldn't. And it came down to the lectins in the plant. So what's a lectin? The lectin is the plant's pesticide. That's why when a tomato is green, it signals to that bug, don't eat me yet, I'm not ripe yet, okay? And for us, actually, that's why it's on the cover there, one of the inflammatory foods is tomatoes. When they brought tomatoes from America back to Italy, it upset everybody's guts so bad they wouldn't eat them. They figured out that if you de-seeded them and took the skins off, then you could get away with it. So here's the no list. Quite interesting to look at our wonderful heart-healthy garden vegetables, okay? Garden vegetables are designed to fatten us up for winter, okay? The immune system has to come into the defense of the lectins in the garden vegetables. The immune system also needs fat to come along with it to house its battle, its fuel, okay? So we plump up right before, and then we run out, well, we used to run out of our garden goodness, and we lived off our fat during the winter. And we ate a lot more fat in the winter, okay? And some of these things were quite interesting. He said, especially cashews. If you eat cashews, you will never lose weight. So Mindy and I started doing this diet. And it's a great diet. You can eat all you want. And Mindy lost 20 pounds. I went down about this much in my pants size, and I didn't think I was fat to begin with. So, but Dr. Gundry, awesome, awesome guy to study. We go on by inflammation caused by lack of cellular energy. How does our cells make energy? Well, from our food, obviously, but only about a third of our food is for that energy. The other 2/3 of that comes from sunlight. You'll see in a minute. This is biochemistry. No one cares about biochemistry anymore. What we're trying to make is this little bugger, NADH. Okay? So that's your cellular energy. Okay? If this room were a cell, it had between 3,000 and tens of thousands of mitochondria. I always tell people, think of them as little footballs floating around in the room. And they have to take in what we've eaten, go through this long process, called that big mess there, to create NADH. So I like to try to go to the front of the line and make NADH more readily. So the NAD part is niacinamide adenine dinucleotide. This is a great supplement that gives you that, or it's a precursor to that. Okay? That stuff's awesome. You can get 3 hours of sleep in a night. Take one of those in the morning, take another one at noon, and you're even burning. It's not like a caffeine, and you don't get the crash at all. So the P part, there's a thing in chemistry called NADPH. Okay, we have a lot of adenosine diphosphate, 2 phosphates, creatine monophosphate, and we make ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's our fuel for our cells, or for us. The H part is the negative, another negative charge here, ionized hydrogen. Okay, so now we've made NADPH. The megahydrate is another great product. We put it in our water, and we put it in front of that machine, and it charges it, works very good. Let me go back and give a little bit of kudos, a lot of kudos, to Dr. Patrick Flanagan. You can see his name here. He's the inventor of that. That stuff's awesome, really amazing. Jack Kruse, another one of my heroes, he's a neurosurgeon. And he's the mitochondriac. We're talking about mitochondria and making energy. If we make enough energy, we don't have inflammation. That's it. So Jack is, wow, I can't say enough. Jack gets into being a mitochondriac, and he's the guy that taught me only a third of your food is what we make energy with. The other 2/3 come from sunlight or light. So guess what happens when winter comes? We all go, okay? Everybody gets sick, everybody gets colds. And Gerald Pollack, another awesome guy to follow. He's the guy that came up with the exclusion zone of water. My opinion, the megahydrate does a great job of making that exclusion zone. Where if this is your cell, and here comes your water, and it forms an exclusion zone of all negatively charged particles, where all the positively charged garbage is out here. And it works very well to do that. So Pollack's another great guy to listen to. He's got some great speeches on YouTube. And he came up with this wonderful book called The Fourth Phase of Water, Beyond Solid, Liquid, and Vapor. The exclusion zone. Works really well. Where are we going? Inflammation extinguished by frequency. Obviously, you can see we have a few bug zappers and gizmos up here. And here's a cell wall. And this might be getting a little deep, but you see all this negativity here? All this positivity here? We run out of this negativity stuff. And it's called electrons. And you can suck up electrons, like Dr. Jack Kruse said, by putting your feet on the ground and sitting in the morning sun, and you become a battery. You're sucking up electrons like huge. So now we're filling up our gas tank because we only get a third of our electrons, remember, from food. The other 2/3 comes from that thing. So that's my last slide there. I just added just one extra thing on the end of this, and I just bought a neuropathy system. You put your feet in a bilateral bucket, 2 different sections, 2 different electrodes, turn it on, and it stimulates the nerves and it's supposed to help with neuropathy. There is the first bug zapper, and that is, like we say, this sends, this catches. So we're shooting it through fingers, eyes, throats, everything. and it works amazingly well. Literally 100% of everybody that uses this on arthritic fingers, it helps a lot, and it stays. I had 2 people that couldn't close their hands all the way. In 8 visits, they can close their hands all the way. And everybody says, well, does it last? I just asked the gal, she works at Farm and Fleet or something up here. I said, how's your hands doing? She went, fine. That was at least 6-8 months ago. Just coming down with a cold. Like I've read, you know, bad guys, germs, have a positive coating around them. Negative charge. Viral pink eye, that thing knocks out in 3 visits. One guy had it over 2 years, one person had it over 1 year, and one 85-year-old not that long ago had it for 2 months. And the guy that had it for 2 years, he said, I've been to 2 eye specialists for over 2 years with this thing. And in a total of 8 visits with that, just holding it on both sides of his eyes like this, it was gone. That's pretty impressive stuff. Look at those pretty nails. And the bug zapper. Here's a guy sitting in front of it in our office. And I remembered this a million times, but I forgot to bring a fluorescent light bulb with me. Because when you turn it on, I can walk up to it with a fluorescent light bulb and it'll turn on. So we can't take one from any place? I'll show you. Need to turn off the sun a little bit. With the Biocharger, same thing. Negative charge, positive toxin, positive bad guy. With acne, it's just about always 3 visits. I told the kid to come in on Monday, take a picture of himself first. Come in on Monday. Mindy, can you start that? Because I have this mic on and it might disturb that. I tell them to take a picture of themselves and come in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this particular setting that Mindy's going to start it on, and take a picture of themselves the next Monday. And pretend I'm holding a fluorescent bulb and it would be lighting up with that same frequency right now. And so when it gets going, the people are all sitting around in chairs, and I can take that light bulb and put that behind the person and it'll light up. Pretty cool. So I had really good success with about everything with it. One autistic kid, this is a great story. He was very violent in the evening time. I knew his mom for years, and she would come in with hand marks on her. And we get this, and we start doing it on him. This kid is acne from head to toe. His back was absolutely a patch of acne. His ankles were that big around and red and hot and swollen. So we started doing this more and more every other day, and I think they used the water too. And in 1 month, he was so cleared up, and his demeanor at night was so much more calm. And they went in and they checked his lithium levels, and they could never get his lithium levels high enough. His lithium levels were off the charts. They had to cut it in half, and his mom says he's every night sits around and just sings Blues Clues songs and is gentle as a puppy. So pretty neat. I think we can go into some questions if anybody wants to ask questions before Bob falls asleep in the front row. Oh, sure, if you want. What are you driving around with a bulb in your truck for? We've got about 7 minutes left. That's about it with our whole thing, is when you combine tweaking that mitochondria and bringing in a negative charge to things, that's how things really work. It's interesting with especially the Biocharger. If you can get a 90-year-old and up to commit to it for 3 times a week for a month, and I don't even charge them, within 2 weeks, they'll always say, that's really helping me. They're like just astonished with them. And the dreams, everybody in the audience that uses this, they know their dreams are out of sight. When you're dreaming, you're healing your brain. When you're sleeping, you're healing your body. Okay? And so within usually that 2 weeks to that month, And I've never heard a 90-year-old ask around if there's a 90-year-old that you know that ever has a dream. I've never heard one say, oh yeah, I dream. Never. 80-year-olds, yes, and yet more yeses the younger they get. Within 2-3 weeks, the old guy will come in, or old girl will come in and go, I had a dream last night. And your dreams are out of this world with that machine. They are amazing, and I see people nodding their heads right now. So, yes, ma'am.
You want to speak a little bit to vaccines?
Of vaccines? No, I don't think we should go there. We're good. You can look it up yourself on YouTube. But I appreciate it. Any other questions?
So is this cleaning your cells? Is that what you're saying this is doing?
That?
Yeah.
Well, cleaning your cells, yeah, you could say that. But getting the garbage out of you is done by motion or your other forms of getting things out of you, okay? So I'm a big fan of motion, walking like you guys do. We have vibration plates that'll sit and shake you to pieces. So you get lots of exercise within 5 or 10 minutes. Lymph is cellular waste. That cell doesn't just sit there. It excretes waste out into the interstitial space. Meaning, if this room is filled with basketballs, and all the basketballs had to go potty in between the basketballs, all that lymph, or potty, has to get into a duct, like a sink going into a drain. That squiggle in that duct is a lymph node, and that's a one-way valve, so it can't go back. And eventually all this cellular waste dumps into your subclavian veins, into your venous system, through your liver, kidneys, and out the other side. So that's why, as far as cleaning goes, you got to have motion when you're trying to clean things. So, but just like when we say a positive charge and a negative charge, what does that do? Just like two magnets, and it's done. So many people will say that going potty is a different ball game after you do this. Many people that are good at taking saunas, and I would highly suggest you get a sauna, or you can use one here. The Alive Center has saunas. Thank you, sir. I'll get to the dark side of the table. Pretty good distance. We got a cool story, don't we, Bob? Yeah. Bob's in my office, and we're showing the light bulb off behind people. And it's lighting up, except Bob right here. Yeah. And so some people wear these capacitors that protect them from electromagnetic stimulation. So I'm like, Bob, why don't you move over to that chair and you move over to this chair? And I'm going behind everybody, lights coming on, and not behind Bob. Now I see the little string right here, like I wear too, and he has a Q link on. I said, give me that once. Put it behind him, lit right up. So that's why you didn't see it.
It's small, but it's amazing what it does.
Yeah. More questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm on a lot of drugs and have different conditions.
You're on a lot of drugs?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, does it help anything, like diabetes or high blood pressure?
You can't make any claims in my world, okay? I can make claims if I was a medical doctor giving you insulin for your diabetes, okay? But you can't make any medical claims in this. The only claims I make is it really cleans up the person. Now, if your drug is made to do a specific action, though, am I going to neutralize that action that you're supposed to be getting? So I have everybody of all sorts of, to the biggest health nuts, to the people that are on the most amount of drugs and the biggest health disasters in the world that sit in front of that, and they do fine. Years ago, when I had the predecessor of this one, it was a real far out machine. And you could make people sick with it because you'd kill off too much too fast. And so we learned that we only could start out with a minute at a time and work our way up to 7 minutes. This one doesn't give any die-off reactions. I haven't had anybody with a die-off reaction. So, pretty cool. Here, catch your light bulb. Thanks, buddy. Any more questions? Go ahead.
Odd one. They listed zucchini under the no.
Mm-hmm. If you, I didn't make up the list. So, but if you take out the seeds and take off the skin and pressure cook it, the lectins will be broken down enough not to affect you. So the Instant Pot, I just about put a picture of it on my PowerPoint here, is Mindy and I's favorite things. We have 2 of them now, and it helps in breaking down the lectins in the foods. And they work really good and they're fast. So, anything more? It's like going to a spaceship. This is the one, though, that I offer people. Oh, and this is another thing. Dr. Kruse, the neurosurgeon, really a wonderful guy when it comes to studying light. And at night especially, the blue light is screwing up our brains huge. And the light that's coming out of your TV and your computer, anything with these nano LEDs, is 4 times the blue light you get at noon. So all the sleep disturbance, all the circadian rhythm stuff, you can put on your blue blockers, okay, at night. And it's really amazing when you take them off after an hour or so on the computer. You're just like, wow, this is really bright in here. So blue blockers, you can get blue blockers for $10 on online, that kind of thing. All right, gang. No more questions?
So I was introduced to the Biocharger about last summer when I was asked to do the athletic study, which incorporated the device with strength component, agility, mobility component. There's a lot of improvement with the athletes in terms of recovery, with injury. So naturally, I wanted to try this for myself because I was dealing with neck and knee pain for 15 years of wrestling. I used it about 4 to 5 times a week and saw great results, honestly. Like, I slept better, my neck wasn't as sore and stiff in the morning. General quality of life got a lot better.
You've got different levels. You've got folks that are looking for energy. You've got folks that are looking for recovery. You've got folks that are just looking for a boost to their workouts. Anywhere from 8 minutes to 15 minutes, sit down, use the product, feel better about themselves, have that boost of energy, feel like they've accomplished a little more in that hard work that they put in through the day, and they can walk out the door satisfied.
Every time after the gym, I go up, use the machine. I was skeptical at first, but after I used it, it's great. You know, I have to use it, put it that way.
The thing with the Biocharger is it's essentially an in and out kind of process. So pre or post workout, 10 minutes to 12 minutes, it's the easiest thing, even for the on-the-go person that's coming into the gym.
I was hearing great things about it from other members, so I come to the gym quite often, so I thought, you know, after one of my routines, I'd pop up there and, you know, give it a whirl. I'm always for, you know, looking to try to make my routine more efficient for me. And this is something I can really incorporate 10, 15 minutes after I run or lift weights. It gives me a little extra pep in my step, you know, to do the things that you have to do when you have 2 small children at home.
I completely severed the anterior talofibular ligament in my right ankle. I had lost the ability to kind of have the function of it. At the same time, I had severe nerve damage to my peroneal nerve. So anytime my nerve fired, all I could feel was pain. First day, kind of sitting there looking at the machine, I'm like, don't know if it's gonna work. But you know, I was at the point there where I was on the verge of getting surgery, and you know, the odds of the surgery actually working were less than 50%, so I was at a point where I had nothing to really lose by doing it. From sports, had 6 concussions, so sleeping was an issue. You know, we're doing this at, I think it was 8:30 in the morning, so I'm still half asleep, as most college kids are. And I walked out and I was wide awake, hadn't had my coffee yet, didn't have coffee the entire day, which for me was a huge deal. By the 3rd session that week, I slept for 8 hours, and I reached REM for the first time in a year and a half. The same session, you know, I go from constantly in pain to all of a sudden the nerve firing correctly, and I couldn't figure out why. Knee, I have an ACL injury, and that started to get tingling in there too. So as I went through this, the more I'd used it, the nerves started to calm down. Left knee started to work a lot better, and stuff that I wasn't able to do from the get-go, I started to regain motion, my gait started to improve again. By the end of it, I was walking with almost a normal gait, with no pain in my right ankle.
I came up with the protocol for the different athletes. So what I was looking for to see if there was going to be any improvement in a strength complex, in a conditioning, as well as a mobility. That's kind of the 3 different sections you want to look to improve in any kind of client.
I think I was barely above the bar in terms of what I was squatting the first day. By the end of the session, I was up at 225. It's very tough to make a jump like that in 4 weeks. It's almost impossible. Usually that's something that would take 4, 5, 6 months of continuously working on your squat to get there. My overall benefit from it has been amazing. I have all these things that I thought I had lost forever that have come back to me, which, it's just an amazing feeling to have. Here I am, I did the Biocharger on a whim, and I can't look back now and think that anything could have been better for me.